Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be looking at some information that's coming out of Sony Pictures, being about the new MCU Spider-Man film, or what's being called Spider-Man Homecoming 3, or whatever you want to call it. I think one of the working titles that was being floated around was Spider-Man Homesick, because all the titles have to have something to do with home in it for whatever reason. Like Homecoming at least made sense. Like the next one is like okay, whatever. It's weird that that's kind of a motif now, but we got news a few days, well, I should say a few days ago, yesterday, I believe, that Jamie Foxx was in talks to return as Electro for this third film. It is also being stated that now he will also have a different look than what he had in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And he will no longer be like weird and blue and stuff, so maybe they're going with a bit more of a traditional design for him. But this brings up a few different questions. Now, this also comes after, Warner Brothers has already announced the whole thing with Michael Keaton coming back. Obviously, Jamie Foxx's Electro is not as iconic to the Spider-Man franchise as, let's say, maybe like a Norman Osborn Green Goblin being played by Willem Dafoe again, which that would be kind of interesting. Or the original Doctor Octopus from Spider-Man 2, or even stuff from Amazing Spider-Man, maybe the Lizard or something like that. But it was kind of I don't want to say Jamie Foxx was an underwhelming villain in Spider-Man 2, but I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 had the issue of their advertising fucked them. Their advertising made it seem like there were three major villains in the film. Everybody started getting Spider-Man 3 vibes from it, and I think it drove a lot of people away from that film in the end, I think. And really, Rhino, who was one of the people who was played by Paul Giamatti, of all people, was being touted as one of the major villains of the movie, and he really isn't. He just comes in at the very beginning and the very end of the film. He's not even in the Rhino armor until the end of the film. And then you also have the issue with, Dane DeHaan's, Harry Osborn, who just basically comes in at the end so they can have that scene where he drops Gwen Stacy and she cracks her head on the ground. There's really not a whole lot that you could say was overwhelmingly good, but Jamie Foxx's Electro was the main villain of the film, and they did have some kind of interesting moments with him throughout the movie. The whole showdown he has with Spider-Man at the power plant and all that stuff. His character at the beginning is kind of goofy and stupid, and he's like a Spider-Man fanboy, and it's kind of weird. But it's not. It's just kind of like it's strange. His character was kind of off to me in that film, and I don't blame Jamie Foxx for that. I think Jamie Foxx is actually a very good actor, but I don't really like him in that film, at least when he's human. After he's Electro, he's a little bit better, but we're talking, splitting hairs there. But now they have him returning for this, and I assume they're probably definitely going to have a different writing team. But the other thing is, this is Sony, and Sony sometimes learns from their mistakes and sometimes does not. So we'll see kind of what this balances out when this film actually does get released. And like I said, they are going to be changing his look, so maybe it'll look a bit more like the original 616, but maybe not as goofy. Maybe don't give him like the Electric Star mask that he had in that. But maybe they'll do something that's a little bit different. I don't think they should necessarily change his power set that much. I think that it's probably a good idea to stay with what people know. He can do the whole electricity thing. Maybe he can become electricity, try and do that a bit of an angle. Play around with it a little bit, but don't take it so far out the realm. Don't make it so like he turns a bunch of cars into like a mech suit or something. Don't make it dumb, or don't make him like Magneto, like he's electrical so he can control electromagnetism or something like that. Which I don't know if he can do in the comics. Maybe he can, but still, I think it's a little bit overpowered for a film, especially a film where he's going to be presumably reintroduced. Some other people are also speculating that this third film could also be a Spiderverse film. I would say no, only because I don't necessarily know if you're going to be, depending on how you handle this. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible that it could be a Spider-Verse film. It actually very well could be. And maybe they're just changing Electro's design a little bit, and it's actually the same character from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Could very well be that. But they haven't stated that. They've stated that he is simply coming back to play Electro. They don't say it's the same Electro. But it is odd that they would pick the same actor who acted in a film as that character when it was technically a different franchise. I do find that odd, and I do find that questioning. But I don't necessarily think it means that you're going to get a Spider-Verse film. I think what you need to do is you need to look and you need to see who is going to be in this film as it's leading up. And you need to see, okay, are they going to bring in some of these other characters? Because the thing is, they've been setting up a Sinister Six movie in the Spider-Man universe for a very long time now. They tried to do it with Amazing Spider-Man. When that Amazing Spider-Man 2, there were all these Easter eggs like the Doc Ock arms and the Vulture harness and a bunch of other stuff, and including all those other random villains like Rhino and Green Goblin. It was supposed to be a setup for a Sinister Six movie. Now, that never came to fruition because that franchise ended, and then Spider-Man joined the MCU. But in the MCU, they have now begun setting that up as well, because now we still have Vulture, who is alive in prison. We have Shocker, who was introduced in Homecoming. We also have Scorpion, who, even though he's not in the armor, was also introduced, Mac Gargan, in Homecoming. And really, Spider-Man Far From Home didn't really introduce any mainstay characters because Mysterio is killed at the end of the movie. Spoiler, I guess. And the other, Hydro Man and Sandman and all that stuff, they were all just, robots or illusions and stuff like that. They weren't real in that universe. So, maybe they'll come up again later on. But as far as we have right now, we currently have 3 villains. We have Vulture, Shocker, and Scorpion, assuming that Scorpion goes down the same road. And presumably the Vulture will be leading them, as we see in the post-credit scene from Homecoming. So now you have Jamie Foxx's Electro coming in, which would make sense. And if you're going to do Spider-Man 3 and set up some form of the Sinister Six movie, which maybe is that team-up film that they have going on, that might be the team-up movie that Marvel is actually doing. So there's a lot up in the air on that, but adding Electro would, I think he was an original member of the Sinister Six, so that would definitely make sense. And then you can also lump in Venom or Carnage or whoever's alive after that movie, because Venom 2 is set to be released before Spider-Man Homecoming 3. So, you might be able to lump Venom in there as well, and I doubt Carnage, because those two probably wouldn't get along very well. And then maybe another villain that you maybe introduce as like a lower-end character in Spider-Man Homecoming 3. It could also be because Jamie Foxx is a hot-button topic right now, because because the Spawn movie is kind of stalled out for the most part. So maybe they thought, okay, we can snatch up a really good actor right now and get him for a film role, and then we can get some publicity behind this film. That could be an option as well that they chose. But there are a plethora of different outcomes that or different reasons that you can give for this casting. I don't necessarily know if any of the ones that I've explained so far are going to be the answer to those questions, or are going to be true, or going to be the answer to, why was he cast again? But I think we're just going to have to wait and see who else gets cast in this movie. If you see maybe Tobey Maguire's in it as some, maybe they'll say, oh, he's in it as a bit role, because I know Tom Holland has stated in interviews that he wanted Tobey Maguire to come back and play Uncle Ben in some flashbacks, which I think would actually be kind of cool to have him back in the franchise, especially in that form, because we're used to seeing him as Spider-Man. So, it could be that, or maybe it could be they could be bringing him back as Spider-Man proper. Andrew Garfield, again, would be another one that would be kind of interesting if he was involved somehow, or any other previous actors. Like I said, Willem Dafoe, or I can't remember who played Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2, but he was really good. Or some others, that would be the indication to me, if you have more than just Jamie Foxx, that this was a Spider-Verse film. So right now, I can't say that it is. It's a possibility, but I would say most likely not. But that's just kind of my opinion on this type of news. I know a lot of people are speculating about it right now, but I want to know what you think. Do you think that it's good to get Jamie Foxx back as Electro? Did you like him in Amazing Spider-Man 2? Do you think he could do a better? If you didn't, do you think he could do a better job in this one? And do you think that this may be setting up for some form of a Spider-Verse movie? As usual, put your thoughts in the comments below. I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?